Hey, what's up and how's it going, all MRBers? I am Mike McRock for the McRock and Bolt Wrestling Review Show, and right now I'm going to give you my review as well as the results of TNA Impact's pay-per-view event last night, Sacrifice. In terms of structuring TNA Sacrifice, I think they've done a decent job of it. I think that kicking off the show with a title match, that alone was a good decision on the part of TNA. You throw in a couple of filler matches, and then you get into another title match. You have another match, then a title match, another match, and a title match. So when it comes to structuring each match on the card, they done a decent job with it. I like that they started off and closed off with a title match. And the first match on the card was the tag team title match. It was the Wolves taking on the Bromans and DJ Zima Ion in a 3-on-2 handicap match for the tag team titles. And before the match, Eddie Edwards cuts a promo and says that everything is going to be different now. There's going to be no excuses for you guys, the Bromans, and you're not going to squirm your way out of this one because this match is a no disqualification match made by MVP. The only issue I have with that is that MVP was nowhere on the show. I mean, he's the guy, the authority figure on TNA, and he's not on the pay-per-view. That alone is a terrible disappointment. When it comes to this match, though, I thought this was an okay match, and I hence the word okay. I mean, the Bromans are the Bromans, and they're just there. They are the tag team that felt like they were just there in this match. But the Wolves, I think, really stepped up their game, and when it comes to their matches that they had on TNA, this has to be one of their greatest matches. They really stepped it up here, and I think even though this was just an okay, could have been better kind of match to kick off the show, at least TNA booked this match the right way, because you had the Wolves week after week after week on TNA getting so close to the titles, only to have the Bromans squirm their way out of the situation, and finally they get their big payoff at the end. The Wolves become the new tag team champions. That's the one thing that TNA got right and delivered on. The next match on the card was Samuel Shaw versus Mr. Anderson in a committed match, and I didn't know what a committed match was until they explained it on the show. And really, the stipulation is that the loser has to go into that van and then straight to the loony bin, the psychic ward, or whatever you want to call it. And really, when you think about it, who's the right fitting guy to really lose this match? Of course, it's Samuel Shaw. Now, you can argue that Samuel Shaw should have won this match, and I really do agree, because if you want to develop your character and make it more interesting, you have him go over. He would gain a lot more benefit from him winning this match. I'm disappointed that TNA didn't go in that direction. Very disappointed. And not only that, the match itself, when in terms of the wrestling, really wasn't all that great at all. But for its entertaining purposes, this was an okay match. It was actually a little bit better than their lockdown match last month. So with that being said, you know, this match was just an okay match. Not the best match on the card, but the best match these two actually had. And I digress, though. I think after this match, they really shouldn't touch each other at all. There was a moment where I thought Chrissy was going to turn heel. Opportunity was missed, and the mic check that Mr. Anderson used on Samuel Shaw that he hit and landed on the back of the van actually looked very weak, in my opinion. So I wasn't really feeling this match at all. Speaking of matches that I really didn't feel much of at all, the next match really done that as well. It was EC3 and Rockstar Spud versus Kurt Angle and Will-O the Wisp. I know, bad personation. But anyway, I thought overall this match, I wasn't feeling it. But there was one moment I thought was remotely okay. Was when you had EC3 Rexer spot outside the ring and Willow uses the umbrella and dives off crossbody, and you had the Mary Poppins chance. That was the only good part of this match, I thought. And basically, what you end up happening was Kurt Angle and Willow at the end squashing Rockstar Spud, twist of fate, followed by Angle slam. Kurt Angle pin Spud 1, 2, 3, and you saw Ethan Carter the third watching as they squash Rockstar Spud outside the ring. And to me, this was TNA's way of playing it safe and not make EC3 look weaker than he was, because he wasn't the one that got pinned. So I think they, in a way, they played it safe. So overall, this match, I just wasn't feeling it. There was just something missing out of this match. I think, like what I said in my prediction video, the route that they should have went down on here was EC3 versus Kurt Angle, and EC3 goes over Kurt Angle, and they do the right thing when it comes to booking Ethan Carter III. And the other thing that I actually did enjoy was the chemistry between Rockstar Spud and EC3. I like how they argue back and forth every now and then, so that was okay. It was a little bit entertaining, but still fell very flat. And then we saw Sonata versus Tigre Uno for the X Division Championship match, best of 3. Series is tied 1-1. And this was a very, very predictable match, I thought, because I knew Sonata was going to retain, and he retained the title. They done the right thing there. Now, when it comes to this match, I thought the pacing was very poor. This could have been better if this match was 5 minutes longer with a better pacing, because I expected like some sort of 15 to 20 minute X Division style. Yes, there were spots where you had some diving, off the top rope stuff, springboard stuff, and that was all well and good. But there were moments that really made me cringe, like for example, the capture suplex where the Tigre Uno applies the leg and throws him over, and Sonata lands on the top of his neck. And I noticed he was pointing at his neck, and I think Tigre Uno should stop doing that move and stop doing other moves that go directly to the neck, because he's going to end up hurting someone. He's going to end up getting fired. So just stop. Don't do that no more. Because to me, that made this match, it just took away the excitement, because I thought it was actually going okay until those moves happened. And Taz called it as a DDT. Dude, that was not a DDT. That was a captured suplex, or whatever you want to call it. That was no way in hell a DDT. I don't know what match you were watching, but that was just bad. And I think Tigre Uno, he might end up getting fired after this match, because one day he's going to end up putting someone in the hospital for a serious neck injury. Moving on, Gunner versus James Storm, an I Quit match. And going into this match, I wasn't feeling it in terms of storyline build-up, because Gunner already defined the odds. He already bet Gunner at Lockdown. So why is this match happening? I questioned it a million times over. But when this match happened, wow, this was reverse psychology, because even though I wasn't crazy about the idea of this match happening, because Gunner already bet James Storm at Lockdown, so there's no need for this match to be happening. This felt like, a match that TNA just threw in for Gunner and James Storm to have something to do at Sacrifice, and with a random stipulation being thrown in. That's what I was thinking going into this match. But wow, I was very surprised, because this match ended up being the match of the night. What happened was that Gunner and James Storm went out there and put on a very brutal physical match. I actually didn't expect them to follow up their match at Lockdown because they had a really good match there, and they actually delivered here. I didn't expect it. It was very surprising, and even though the match was obvious that Gunner was going to go over, like I said, this match delivered. The only criticism I had with this match is that when Gunner applied that fishing maneuver that he does, I'm not sure what he calls it, when it's kind of like his version of an F5, but not to the fullest, and James Storm lands on his like knees or feet or whatever, and he really doesn't sell that move all that well. That's my only criticism coming off of that match. But there were great moments that happened in this match. One in particular I thought was sick, where you had the guardrail between the two chairs and the suplex off the top rope, and Storm landing on it. Oh, that was just killer. That was absolutely brutal. Really amazing to watch. And even the part where James Storm whipped off the belt off the referee, started whipping Gunner. Gunner was bleeding. He had him in the Boston Crab, and Gunner was bleeding. It was sort of reminiscent to Stone Cold and Bret Hart, sort of. And there was also that moment where Storm hit Gunner with a beer bottle, and I like the storytelling on this match. Gunner wouldn't give up at all, and when the ref put the microphone in Gunner's face, he would say something like "no" or "piss off" or whatever, stuff like that, and he was just great. And James Storm really dished out the punishment, I thought, very, very well, and Gunner was selling it very, very well. There were no complaints other than James Storm not selling Gunner's finishing maneuver. So wow, this match turned out better, a lot better than I expected. But there was one match that I thought going into was going to be the match of the night, and it ended up being a really disappointment. And that was Bully Ray versus Bobby Roode in a tables match. And I'm gonna talk about this match before I get into the match that came after the I Quit match. Now, like I said, this match was really disappointing. I actually expected a lot better from Bobby Roode and James Storm here. I don't know if it was the two of them or if it was the booking out of this match. I'd say it was probably a little bit of both. And what happened was that Bobby Roode went over. I expected it. I was okay with Bobby Roode going over, coming out of this match. But oh my God, the logic fails that happened were horrible, horrendous. And here I'm watching this, and this is really making me go, oh, what in the world? And the match itself was actually not that bad. There were a couple of good teasers, and so this made just an okay match. And I'm just talking about the match. The match never really delivered. It was a little disappointing, and like I said, I'm just talking about the match until the final closing moments happened. And what happened was that Bobby Roode was about to put Bully Ray through a table. He lifted him up, going for a powerbomb, and the ref, I don't know if Bully Ray's foot even nailed the ref at all or just came very close to his face, but when it happened, the referee delayed his reaction and flopped down and trying to sell that that he got hit. And you can tell before this happened, okay, we're going to set this up, that the referee's going to get knocked down anyway. He was getting too close between these two guys. And when it happened, it was a delayed reaction from the ref. And I'll put it to you this way. The guys that run Botchamania, this is their dream moment. Honest to God. This was so horrible, I can't even think of a phrase. It was that bad because the execution was very, very poor. the delay reaction from the ref, and not only that, you had Dixie Carter come out disguised as a man. I thought this was Spike Dudley with the glasses and the beard, and dressed up as a man, and here Dixie Carter is a cross-dresser, and she puts Bully Ray through the tables that he set up outside the ring. The bell rings, and there's no referee in sight. What in the logic fails happened here? Come on! This was ridiculous. This was dumb. This was stupid. This was everything. Oh. Okay match. Ended up being terrible. Oh. I mean, isn't the whole point of Dixie Carter being written out of TNA not to be televised on TNA anymore and not on pay-per-views? I mean, and I thought the referee moment was bad enough. I just have no words to explain how disappointing this match turned out to be. And now I'm going to talk about the Knockouts match, the Angelina Love versus Madison Rayne. And this was actually better than I expected. There were moments where I thought this match was over, and it turned out, oh, this is not over. This is going to continue. And some of the psychology was actually not that bad. I like Angelina Love throwing the hissy fits and the Velvet Sky coming up and costing Madison Rayne the match. And this was basically 2-on-1. But overall, I actually didn't expect that match to be as good as it was. I'll just leave it at that. And then we get to the main event. Now, before I talk about the main event, I will also talk about some other things as well. Like, there is a scene with Knox talking with his sister in their car and saying that, you know what, it's not going to be just us. There's going to be 4 of us that's going to make our return or debut or whatever to TNA. And here I'm thinking, he's going to bring in a couple of carnies? I could see Kazarni coming in here and possibly Doink the Clown for all I know. And yet again, I mean, TNA can't go through 6 or 7 months without another stable. Oh. But at least they left something open here. And another thing that really bothered me was that there was no Kenny King, there was no Austin Aries, there was no Samoa Joe, but the more I think about it, they could use that as an excuse in terms of storyline to be a part of this stable of disgruntled employees. Maybe that's a good possibility and they'll go after MVP or whatever, but we'll see what happens. But we got to the main event. Eric Young versus Magnus for the World Heavyweight Championship. Going into this match, I wasn't really crazy about it. They were just throwing this title match under the bus. There was no build up to this match at all. So I was very skeptic. But it turned out actually a not half bad closer to Sacrifice. This was a very solid, basic, old school kind of match. It was decent. It was solid. I will give it that. I think my only criticism of this match is that this wasn't a pay-per-view quality kind of match. Yes, this was a decent, solid world title match, but it just didn't feel like a pay-per-view match. I think they could have delivered a little bit better than that. There were moments in this match I thought were really good. They were very crisp. They were very well executed. I like Eric Young's diving elbow. I like those moments where these guys nailed their finishing maneuvers once and they kick out. Eric Young power drives Magnus, he kicks out. Eric Young diving elbow, Magnus diving elbow, Eric Young kicks out. Stuff like that I really did enjoy. And then the closing moments, Eric Young, second power driver, another diving elbow drop, pins him 1, 2, 3. And I was really glad that Eric Young won clean. That I really did enjoy. I like there was no interference, there was no Abyss, there was no Dixie Carter, there was no MVP, there was no this, that, there were no dirty finishes for Magnus. I like that Eric Young retained the title strong, clean. They kept it simple, stupid. And that's all I have to say about the main event. Overall, in terms of delivering this pay-per-view, wasn't really all that great. I think TNA could deliver a lot better in terms of pay-per-views. This just felt like a filler type of pay-per-view leading up to Slammiversary. So out of 10, maybe a 4 or 4.5. It was a very poor pay-per-view. There were only a couple of really good matches on the card. The rest were okay matches, and there were a couple of really, really bad matches with a lot of logic fails behind it. And if you saw TNA Sacrifice, what did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. While you're at it, you can hit that subscribe button down below this video to get Make Rockin' Bolted. You can also follow MRB Wrestling on Twitter, and you can like us on Facebook at the Make Rockin' Bolt Wrestling Review Show. And on a final note to all you viewers watching, get plenty of rest, and always do your best.